Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome on into the swear word. I'm your host, Brandon Swear, and hey, this is a podcast for the Chiliad community, by the Chiliad community. Regardless of your spice tolerance, this is the place for you. Now, up tonight, imagine a world where your favorite dish tastes even better, and it's been crafted by an intelligence beyond human culinary genius. Could AI be the secret ingredient that revolutionizes how we experience flavors, especially with its insight into the world of spices? Get ready to explore the surprising future of your taste buds. What's going on, Swear Nation? So glad to have everyone here. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube, Spotify, Rumble, or Apple Podcasts, thank you so much for being here and continuing to make this show what it is. And also, please just continue to share this around with other like-minded chili heads or individuals that are curious about the world of hot. And if you're on a platform that allows for reviews, go ahead and leave me a nice review down below. It really helps the algorithm get this out in front of other individuals. Speaking of algorithms, tonight we're going to be diving into the fascinating topic of the intersection that happens between spicy food, culinary traditions, and artificial intelligence. And joining me tonight, what better way than to have the special guest be, well, AI itself. So buckle up because we're about to dive into the future of spice. Episode 135 starts now. All right. As I have mentioned, we have AI actually answering these questions here tonight, at which point the audio quality that it was running through was not quite to the standard that I would have liked it to be. So I will be continuing to tweak that for some future episodes. But for what I have done, I have gathered the responses based on the conversation that I have had and just trying to really get that out there and maybe provoke some thoughts and provoke some questions. If any of this is insightful, or you have a question regarding this, or you would like me to dive deeper into it, this is a perfect time to drop it down in the comments as well as we go. So let's start with the big picture. Imagine a future where every meal isn't just tasty, but it's tailored perfectly for you. I'm not talking about, just a quick recipe out of a book. We're talking about dishes that match your DNA, your gut health, and even your mood. Crazy as it sounds, it's not that far away. AI is already shaking up the food world. IBM's Chef Watson, maybe you've heard of it, started experimenting years ago with creating recipes using big data. It didn't just spit out random combinations, it analyzed things like flavor compounds, culinary recipes, and user preferences to suggest pairings that humans might not even consider. Companies like McCormick have taken it even further, using AI to help design new spice blends. And it's not just predicting what tastes good, it's about predicting what people will want next. So the AI from that point then started to answer with, that is correct. Ultimately, AI systems can scan millions of social media posts, restaurant menus, and even consider reviews to spot trends before they break. So, for example, AI is able to predict that the global rise of turmeric and gochujang before becoming mainstream in Western kitchens and all over. So thinking of it like having a crystal ball for, say, food trends, right? So when we talk about the future of your spice rack, it's not just about what exists today. It's about unlocking flavors the world hasn't even dreamed of yet. So just wild to think, as that is the response to which the AI systems have already spit out. It is beyond, making sense here at this point of the predictive nature, the more that it's learning off of other users that are interfacing with it, as well as learning from the idea of just the different recipes that have existed online, whether that be on a social media post, whether that be on an e-cooking book, whether that be just a recipe posted online somewhere else. And then being able to gather this information from all around the world and help to really decipher, encode, and build together this perfect breakdown. Now, there's probably going to be some other added stuff that you would need to do in order for it to really fine tune and hone in for you. But that is exactly what we're about to talk about here. So for the next conversation that I had sparked up, it was really around the idea of decoding these tastes and how AI learns flavors. Because at the end of the day, just like I know, and I'm sure you know, AI is unable to actually taste these items. It's unable to enjoy it in the same way or even experience food at all. So, for it to be able to gather this information and understand food pairings is so currently dependent on human beings interacting with it and or sharing things online in order to know how these all play together. So, all right, here's the next question that I had. It's let's go ahead and break down how does the machine even begin to understand something as a human or, and like the overall emotional attachment or anything that, would be experienced by a human being around the area of flavor. Ultimately, it seems to come down to data as where computers don't have the taste, as I had mentioned before, but they can already read the language of chemistry. So maybe there's some kind of layer to that at which most people aren't really factoring in whenever they're thinking about mapping out their next meal or planning out a new sauce or what have you. Spices and foods are made of compounds. So as capsaicin is in chili peppers and vanilla inside the vanilla beans, these compounds have measurable properties, and AI is obviously really great at gathering this data. So it takes this data, catalogs them, and from there it actually starts to build a database. And so this database is called the VCF. And so I've learned that the VCF stands for Volatile Compounds in Food Database. It's basically like a dictionary of flavor chemistry. So AI cross-references that with recipe database and culinary traditions to help build what's basically the largest flavor profile library in human history. So, what exactly did AI have to say about this? Well, AI's response was exactly when you think of taste, you might just think sweet, sour, salty, bitter, umami, etc. But flavor is much more complex. A chili pepper, for example, has capsaicin for heat, but also has fruity, smoky, grassy, and multiple different other compounds depending on the variety. So AI can help map all of those and see, for example, why chocolate and chili peppers pair so well. It's not just tradition, it's chemistry. Machine learning helps identify these patterns, and even seasoned chefs might tend to miss those. Now, like how vanilla enhances a savory tomato sauce, or how cinnamon can add depth to lamb dishes. So, as it answered this, it really started to blow my mind because, you have chefs that spend decades learning the nuances, but yet AI can crunch a billion bits of data in a matter of seconds and see these patterns instantly. So It's like teaching a computer to become a master sommelier of these spice blends. It's really fascinating when you start to think about it. So, from there, it had me really starting to wonder more about how far do we need to teach the AI system, or is it already there to be able to start deciphering the differences here? Will it need a scan of our body to start be able to pinpoint ingredients that may or may not end up working well for our system, or might give us heartburn, or might do this or might do that, and leave you with an upset stomach? How is it going to know? So that's where decided I wanted to dive a little bit deeper. So, speaking on the spice sommelier, so the next part that I had was really taking this and bringing it back to the kitchen. Imagine you're opening your app and scanning your fridge, and boom, you got a custom spice blend recipe based on what you already have. Simply, that just seems like where we're going. McCormick's actually has already rolled out a line called One that was co-created using AI. It's analyzed consumer preferences and chemical database to end up creating these seasonings designed to hit the sweet spot just perfectly for what people are craving. What's interesting is it doesn't just stop there. What if you're on like a low sodium diet, or maybe you're looking for an anti-inflammatory food setup? AI can help suggest and make substitutions and blend in things that meet those health needs without sacrificing the taste. So at that point, it's almost one of those questions as to why wouldn't you use it if you know that you are going to be focused on, whether that be, start of the new year, health kick journey, you're trying to make sure you stick true to what you have going on, but want to make sure that you're not leaving anything on the table. Well, from there, AI ended up having a lovely response back that was around the area of, well, as it's even able to start seeing these AI recommendations of spice blends, they're able to work on the mood and activity. So say you're stressed. It said it might suggest a lavender and cumin tea blend for relaxation. If you're feeling sluggish, it said it would recommend a chili and ginger mix to help kickstart your energy. It continued on talking about how professional chefs are actually also utilizing these systems to help balance complex menus. In Michelin-starred restaurants, AI is helping make sure that no single flavor dominates, that even each course itself complements the next. It's like having an extra brain in the kitchen that never forgets a single detail. Absolutely mind-blowing to hear that, and the response being that AI is already being incorporated and used in even Michelin-starred, chef's kitchens because of wanting to make sure that the level of caliber that their dishes roll out is not stepping on or competing with one another, but yet adding to, building on, and enhancing what is already going on in there. Now, does this mean that this is a perfect solution to just go ahead and remove the creativity and the human soul from the dishes that are being put out? No. But it is rather interesting to think about if you're going to utilize it for the means of checking and or additional idea creation, why not? And so for home cooks like me, or maybe you who's listening right now, that maybe that means guessing and really guaranteeing the flavor success could drastically increase just by working alongside with AI. So that right there in its own is rather huge. So, okay, here was the next thing. here's where it starts to kind of get really a little bit weird and wild in my mind. AI just isn't there for remixing what we already know. It's actually starting to help create entirely new flavors. So we're talking about designer molecules, compounds that mimic even or improve on traditional spices. Vanilla here is a perfect example. Natural vanilla is expensive and hard to produce, but AI can help create identical or enhanced versions synthetically, making them more affordable and sustainable. So, as I was talking with it on this aspect, while the idea of synthetically creating something may not be something that I personally pursue, it's still fascinating because of the alternative use cases that can be worked in here. So AI had this to say back by it. It said, right. And this isn't just a theory. Scientists are already working on sustainable versions of saffron, vanilla, and even cacao. Because ultimately, whether you're worried about the overall threat to natural production, the sophisticated choice of overall what's going to benefit the farmer more, etc., or as human population continues to grow and questioning as to where all this is going to ended up being grown, created, crafted, etc., AI has guided the biotechnology that can replicate the taste at a molecular level. And then it continued to say that there's even the health angle. So imagine a hot sauce that's not just designed to taste good, but actively improve gut health, reduce inflammation, or even elevate your mood. That could be the future of flavor. It could be functional flavor. So that part was really interesting to me. Now, once again, not because I am one that's constantly looking for engineered, bioengineered, and all these wild things, because that's not necessarily the realm that I like to, personally partake in. But what is interesting is having this as an alternative window. So this is where I was thinking that, like, at the point where these flavors don't just they don't just become food, but more also a way to help heal, repair, and kind of act like a medicine, if you will. Spices have always been linked to health and like ultimately the traditional systems, but AI could scientifically optimize those benefits for us, for our human self, ultimately knowing what we lack from a nutrient slash mineral deficiency or things that might disrupt the overall natural healthy state of our bodies and fine tune what we have here. Now, once again, want to say this is by no way, shape, or form me saying we should ultimately listen to what it has. This is simply a thought-provoking and better understanding of what is already out there. So, up next, we're going to be diving into the overall taste test. We're talking the human elements and the ethical bites. I don't want to make it sound like AI is going to be replacing chefs, because at the end of the day, food is way more than just chemistry. It's culture, it's memory, it's art. It's the thing that draws us together, binds us, and helps really establish a lot of these core memories. So think more of AI as this rhythm section in the jazz band. It can keep things steady, but humans continue to riff. They make improvements and they add the soul back into the food at which that part that can't be cooked or can't be coded and the AI can't figure out. So taking it from that angle, you're once again enhancing and improving and probably streamlining what you're doing without a lot of the mishaps in the trial and error. So AI responded back saying that it is very important that humans still interact and help build and facilitate its overall database, because there are real concerns, staggering around this. Because if AI is solely listening and learning from mostly Western recipe data, it could ignore or undervalue African, indigenous, and even some regional spice traditions. So there's always the question of access. If big corporations controlled AI to create spices, with small farmers and local producers, are they getting left behind? Or can AI actually empower them by predicting better yields, reducing waste, and opening up global markets? I thought that was pretty interesting. And I started thinking about it more. And that's where the ethics come into this whole thing. So we've got into this balance of innovation and respect for tradition and the overall access to it now. So then, in the best case scenario, AI is simply amplifying culinary voices, not erasing them, helping farmers grow better, chefs cook smarter, and consumers eating healthier without losing that human element, which I find very fascinating. But at the same time, as with anything, the technology aspect behind this is, yes, a bit scary, and definitely one of those things that is always evolving, always learning, always growing. At this point, there's no way to put the genie back in the bottle per se. AI is existing, it is being used, and it is being put out there in such a way that regardless of how you're using it, what industry it's breaking into, etc., it is always learning and accessing anything it can online. So ultimately, here's the big takeaway. AI is already reshaping how we think about flavor. It's decoding taste simply through chemistry to help predict food trends. And from personal spice sommeliers to futuristic designer molecules, the future of spice is both exciting and a little bit mind-bending. But all that to say, the most important ingredient will always be us. The cooks, the eaters, the storytellers. AI may be able to unlock the science and understand the big data and start to predict and see trends. But it will never be us. It will never bring the soul. It will never tap into that core memory, striking the hearts and the stomachs of everyone around the world. So next time you go grab for a jar of chili powder to try, or maybe even a new hot sauce, just remember, the future of spice might not be grown in a field, but in a lab powered by AI. As much as it is one of those areas that is not the most comfortable feeling, knowing that it is happening, it's best to just go ahead and understand what is coming and try to help guide, facilitate, and retain what makes the dish the dish. It is the human element. It is the love, the soul, the passion that is poured out into every single creation. So while leaning on AI to maybe help shortcut or help fast track what you have going on and ensuring that everything plays well together and that you don't have some weird flavor profile snafu, that may be great. But just know that it could never replace that human element. What are your thoughts about it? Are you on the team of AI as innovation, or do you also worry and wonder? So remember that AI is simply a smart cookbook, intuitive cookbook that you have access to, because all it is doing is analyzing and acquiring the information that we as users have helped input with it, as well as what it has been able to attain online through recipes, through customer reviews, through testimonials, etc. And from there, it is able to help make iterations and changes based on the chemistry and the chemical makeup within each ingredient and how they pair together, how they play together, or what has a similar compound found in a different ingredient. So next time that you're wondering, should I still focus on this if AI is going to take over, just know that even if it were to today, it still could never taste, experience, and or understand what us as the end consumers know, love, and care about. It won't be replacing anyone anytime soon, and I question whether it will ever, because simply it is not human. It cannot live the human experience. I've asked it also with factoring in capsaicin and knowing that it can't understand the end results at which we as the consumer are able to experience and know and love and enjoy this great chemical reaction that happens from these chili peppers. And from there, it said that it simply has to go off of the other breakdown ingredients in which the dish is made up of, whether that be a sauce or culinary dish. It starts to fine tooth, comb, go through each one of those ingredients. Now, with those ingredients in mind, it then starts to figure out, based off of the SHUs, which pepper might be the best for an intended end result. So as I started asking it more, it then began to dive deeper into why it might recommend, say, a habanero in a recipe over a jalapeno, or why it would make sense to go with a ghost pepper whenever you're wanting to have more of a bite of the heat, but in a more controlled manner. And it said simply based off of data that has gathered online and heard from in multiple different formats of responses back from people like you and me. What was interesting is whenever asking how AI systems have been able to revolutionize and or play a role in the overall breakdown of ingredients and recipes for just everyone from professional chefs to home cooks. The surprising stat said that it came back at roughly 46% of the world's population do actually use in one way, shape, or form, or have used at least once, AI recipes or an AI algorithm to help them formulate a recipe and clean it up. Even some of these apps that most people are utilizing and accessing, things like Whisked, and I can't remember the other two that it had mentioned, are actually apps that tap into AI and help suggest for you what, based on ingredients that you have in your pantry or in your refrigerator, play well together and something that you can make from it. So I thought that that was very interesting, because you're now talking about utilizing it to help aid in the growth and benefit to you as the end result, but not competing per se in the market. Now, as this continues to go forward, one of the biggest shocking things as well was saying that roughly 72% of those that were surveyed were shown that it has actually made an improvement in their overall cooking routine, taking out the guesswork of what that upcoming week's meal plan, schedule, etc. is going to be. They just factor in things like personal preference, dietary restrictions, things that they're looking for, and they can give this insight to the AI, and the AI is then able to help formulate, craft, and spit out a nice not only recipe list for the week as well as how to do that, but then facilitate furnishing you a grocery list if you give it based on the store at which you wish to shop. And you can even go a step further. And if you're focused on keeping within a certain budget, you can then give it that budget constraint and it will formulate that overall breakdown of the ingredients needed and the recipes based on that weekly budget. Now, is it always perfect and accurate? Well, some have said that it is definitely more so, pretty accurate from what they've gathered. But I beg to differ because ultimately, with sales and things changing so frequently, and these AI systems needing to be able to crawl for an exact at the moment state, it's not going to be the most accurate, but it should help get you in a right framework. Just another way that these AI systems are being able to come into effect and really help facilitate the overall growth. So why do I continue to bring up this whole AI debate and whether or not it is coming in to help facilitate, grow, etc., this overall space? Because ultimately it is here with things like Chef GPT out there helping to craft and curate many different recipes and helping even facilitate the idea of a nice sauce or seasoning blend to be able to incorporate into these dishes that you're making. And helping people ultimately that otherwise have zero knowledge or confidence in the overall cooking experience gain that confidence, gain that knowledge, and really start to maybe tap into something that they could learn to grow to love. Now, once again, as you are utilizing this tool to help enrich and empower you on the path forward, remember that you do not need to solely be dependent on it. As you're going through these steps, learn, write down things that you might have otherwise not known, and keep those ready to go so that if you're ever sitting there in a pinch and you're like, man, I really need this ingredient, but I no longer have that one, but I have all this other stuff around, maybe one of those other ingredients are something that you could help substitute and swap in there. Now, will this ultimately end up changing the outlay of the world of spicy products? Was the next thing that I asked it. Now, whenever I asked it this, it ended up responding back with quite a few different things. What was eye-opening to me was noticing that it said it's able to reduce waste by a little over 14%, also helping level the playing field for those that are just at-home cooks versus massive, large brands that are out there, this is their wheelhouse. This is what they do best. So what was really interesting to know is you don't have to just be this mega corporation with all this R&D money and everything backing you behind it. You're able to actually partner with things like Taste GPT and all these other avenues to be able to help cut those corners, help really bend down the learning curve to a much more manageable amount so that you can also be able to crank out things that are, whether you want to be focused on spicy, health conscious items, it will help start crafting these and really curating not only the flavor profiles, the end result, but they can also help small companies with the branding and help with all the other images and everything else that you're going to want to put on the packaging. Now, this is going to be greatly, successful for all those that might not have the big budget. But at the same time, it becomes a little bit of a hurdle because not all these AI systems are 100% free. And just because you have access to something doesn't mean you're going to always craft it in the right way. The series of questions and how you ask these also pertain a lot to the overall end result of what the AI systems are going to give you. Now, would that end up impeding you on your journey? Would you still try these out? Are you curious about how the overall effect of AI is going to play out in your own home cooking, maybe product creation, or maybe you're just out there and you have made it to a certain point in your career, cranking out spicy products, and you're figuring out, how do we take this to the next step? Can we get ahead of these trends and these curves? Are you going to jump into AI to help you potentially see what could be coming down the line? Or are you going to rely on simply what you have observed? Let me know down below if you have utilized any AI systems in order to help cook or create something, whether that's spicy or not, as well as, have you dabbled in the idea of having it custom tailor things based on a certain dietary restriction? I'm very curious to know, because ultimately I think it's a fascinating thing, and I think that we are going to be seeing a very nice breakdown of what is to come. Well, I hope that you enjoyed tonight's conversation. Now, as this was a bit of a back and forth between my questions, statements, and responses, and AI coming in and answering it as well, I will be getting this next step linked up here soon so that we can now have the clear audios of this conversation back and forth. This time around, the audio quality was not quite on the level that I was hoping for and expecting, so I will get that dialed in and look forward to that. Now, would love to know if you also enjoyed this or want to see different topics or hear about different topics or guests. And should we start reviewing other reviewers? Should we have a highlight segment into the overall podcast, or just keep that as something on the side? Let me know down below in the comments what you think, what your thoughts are on that. And thank y'all so much. Don't forget, new episodes drop every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Central. And if you're on a platform that allows for podcast reviews, please leave a review. It helps immensely get that algorithm to push us out there to more chili heads. And hey, if you're going to be at the Austin Chronicle on September 7th, I will see you there. I will be at the Freaky Ferments booth, so you can catch me over there. Come out, come say hi, grab yourself some hot sauce. There's going to be tons of great vendors there, tons of great sauce. Looking forward to it. And I will be, I'll be running a live stream during that as well. So jump on in for that. Also, if you're going to be out at the League of Fire Houston belt match, I will be out there competing. Look forward to meeting all of y'all. And hey, head on out there. There's going to be tons of great vendors, spicy drinks all night. You can watch as the pepper competition goes on, meet and greet, and have a great time. It's going to be on Friday, September 26th. And I believe it's from 5 to 10 p.m. So head on out. Have a great time. I look forward to seeing y'all there if you're going to be there, as well as the upcoming North Texas Hot Sauce Fest. That's going to be at Martin House Brewing, and that is going to be an absolute blast. It's towards the middle of October. More to come on that as we get closer. But well, a quick shout out for the sponsors, podvision.io. If you're looking to grow your brand, start your brand, you hit a bump in the road, you're trying to figure things out, highly recommend checking out podvision.io for all of those needs, as well as webdx.one. Maybe you have an online site. Maybe you had a guy at one point, you lost contact with them. Maybe you never got around to building one. Now, ultimately, the great thing with WebDX is you are able to focus on what you do best, and they help crank out an amazing representation of you and your awesome business online with this stunning website. So highly recommend checking out webdx.one for all of those needs. I'm Brandon Swear, and from everything from the world of hot, this has been The Swear Word.